Hey there, you fine, silky cats.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spooky Screen. We are your Spooky Screen hosts. My name is Steven. I have my hosts Noah,
Heyo.
Jonny,
Hey.
Nick,
How you doing?
and David.
Hey there, pretty things.
David, I feel like I'm in the rave looking at your video.
I know you. You come to me for the party.
Anyways, today we're going to be discussing a movie called X, which is directed by Ty West, and it was released by A24 back in March earlier this year. Ty West is also known for movies such as The House of the Devil, The Innkeepers, and also Pearl, which is currently in theaters. It was released last weekend. X stars Brittany Palmer, Kid Cudi, Mia Goth, and is available on VOD to rent. All right, the synopsis of X. So X is basically a movie that's about a crew of actors traveling across rural Texas, and they rent a guest home from an elderly couple, and they make that as a setting for their next adult film. However, their elderly hosts uncover the true reason behind their visit, and they unleash a night full of mayhem and murder upon their guests. You know the drill. We're gonna decide whether to tell our audiences to pay for this film on VOD or in theaters. It's not in the theaters anymore. Full disclosure. Uh, or wait until it's available on streaming, or to skip this movie entirely. Three, two, one. All right. So let's see. Pay on VOD. David is a stream. What the?
Damn it!
And then Nick is an absolutely peep the show in theaters. So you're a pay in theaters. But Nick, the movie's not in theaters anymore. I just said. So you would say peep the
Hey.
show on VOD.
Yeah. Either way, peep the buttery slickness of this movie.
So 4 pays and one stream.
You guys are out of control tonight. I'm like,
It's
David,
a sash.
David, you're the outlier. You're the black sheep of the group tonight. So tell us
Oh.
why you would stream this movie rather than pay for it.
This was a really unique movie, unique premise and everything, and I liked the setting's really interesting and the setup is interesting, but ultimately, I think it is a stream for me. I wanted more tension, like more instances where like okay, like the porn director, he's trying to Wayne, he's trying to keep the peace, trying to keep everything under wraps, and then like little things keep slipping up here and here, and like the tension keeps building more and more. I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more suspense.
You wanted a little bit more detail and you wanted a little bit more tension. That's
Yes, I wanted. Yeah, I wanted it to be a little bit longer, like before the night of murder and gore happened, just so I could like feel a little bit more uneasy. Like, oh god, what's going to happen to these people? It felt like it happened very quick, which is fine. And some people might like that, but for me, I needed a little bit more build up.
Nick, we're going to turn to you. Give us your thoughts on this movie. Why did you think people should pay to see this movie in theaters or on VOD?
I think so. This movie, I think we're a bit of like shills when it comes to A24, and to me, that's personally like, it's always the same studio. So I'm already kind of like, just like over these kinds of movies. But this movie really started off boring, and I thought it was going to confirm everything I thought about it, and then it just switches on you, and it starts off super mundane, but paces itself so well and builds up to such a spectacular ending. Uh, it started off with me not caring at all, and instantly, just like a flip of a switch, I was glued to my seat. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I had to know where things went next. The villains were fantastic. They were amazing. It was great that you didn't really need so much of a motivation from them. They just did things to do them. They were just evil for the sake of evil. And yes, it was explained, but that's what the prequel that we know is coming now. That's what that's for. And now I need to see that movie because I need to understand their motivations. I need to know more.
Mm,
They sucked me into this universe, and now I need to learn more. And I'm afraid that the prequel is just going to ruin it for me now. Like that's my
okay.
biggest fear, that they might ruin how great of a villain this couple was.
So, just summarizing what you said, immersive. Uh, it had a good structure to it. It built up the tension, and you enjoy the villains almost to the point where you're scared of watching Pearl because you think that it'll fumble the bag on Pearl's backstory
One
along with
hundred percent,
her husband.
absolutely. Like, I
So
really want to watch it, but I'm also really apprehensive about it because I feel like the experience I had was great, and I feel like it's one of those things that I'm afraid it can only go downhill from here.
well, too bad you're watching it, and we're going to be reviewing it in the next episode of the Spooky Screen. But thank you for your contributions, Nick. We're going to turn to Jonny, Mr. Cherry Bomb over here. Give us your thoughts on why the audience should pay to see this film.
I refused to see this movie when it first came out. When you guys wanted to see it, I love A24, but I am not a proponent for pornography as a kind of a consummate media consuming, and I don't want to condone it. So I preface my review with I take issue with kind of maybe the over explicit pornography. I don't know if it works in this movie. Like I get it, and if you watch the movie, you'll understand why. I don't think you even needed that level to be successful. But I'm going to talk about a lot of the movie is not pornography. The story is around people who are trying to become famous through selling their bodies, but the movie is not a pornography as a whole. And so, when it's A24, it's going to be kind of art house a little bit. It's going to have really tight kind of craft quality to it, very aesthetic. You're going to have great audio, great music. The period setting was very good. The concept was very tight throughout the film about youth, about sex, about power, about death. Like the themes, and you could interpret those kind of maybe a little differently depending on the discussion, but I thought it was very good, and it was tied throughout. There was Easter eggs throughout the movie that if you were paying attention, like the missing person on the milk carton and all these little things that if you're just focusing and it's just very enjoyable.
Yeah.
um, I would say one of the things I really liked was uh, the meta kind of they were elevating a smut movie, and in doing so here they are elevating a horror movie in like this kind of parallel world. I thought that was clever. um, I like the tension build up. I actually disagree with David. I think pacing was fantastic. I don't like really long movies. I don't like movies that are way over 2 hours. Like I don't need it to be that just to be that, and I thought the build up was just enough to deliver this message. That's my opinion. um, the characters were all fun. All of them were different. I didn't realize Jackson was Kid Cudi. I knew he was involved in the movie. I didn't realize he was in the movie. I thought he was just involved in the movie. But all the characters were interesting. They were unique enough and different and had different motivations. Um, Mostly, and especially the villains. I think we all agree. Like the villains were awesome. So I mean, all those things kind of accumulate to why I love this. But I think the cherry on top to me is like this is 100% a real story. I'm not saying it's a true story, but it's a real story.
Mhm.
It could be, it could have happened, and no one would have known. And it's like that to me is an exciting horror film because so many things are like based on these ideas of if you believe in this or that, but like this is just straight raw humanity, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So themes were resonating with you. You thought the pacing was super tight, the tension was there, and the characters were also well developed. So
And pornography bad.
thank you, Jonny. Appreciate your thoughts as always. Noah, you give us your thoughts on why folks should pay for this movie.
So I echo um, I echo Nick's thoughts that it starts off mundane and then it builds perfectly the tension to a spectacular ending. And I echo Johnny's sentiments that sorry. I echo Johnny's sentiments that the movie is an A24 movie, so it's crafted so beautifully. It's a work of art in terms of audio and visually. And you can always expect that. But in terms of why I really loved it, I thought it was, you know, it's a gritty 80s style slasher that really makes you think that it's something that you've seen before. You know, that typical slasher, religious, hillbilly horror type of thing. And then halfway through the movie, it really pulls the rug out from under you. And not only does it reveal what it truly is, but it also shows that it has a heart and a brain. And I wasn't expecting that. like, yes, there are kills. Yes, it is like that in terms of typical slasher where people die gory deaths. But you scratch the skin a little, and there's this fascinating commentary on and subtext of the reckless and ambitious nature of youth that is fleeting,
Hmm.
and versus the bitterness of aging. And that, to me, what was truly horrifying was the juxtaposition of both of those.
Well said.
And like, this movie subverts expectations, but does so with just clever execution and sinister playfulness. I think someone mentioned how like there's so many Easter eggs, and there's this meta thing going on, and there's just so many, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Masterful things happening all at once that Ty West, who wrote, direct, and edited this movie, and you could see how his hand and his mind was at play at all times, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And I went along for the ride, and I loved it. So
All right, great. Thanks, Noah. So I'll go last. I would also pay for this film. I whiffed on the chance to see this in theaters, which I deeply regret. So I rented it on VOD and watched it that way. I've seen it twice now as well. And the reason why I like this film kind of goes to what Johnny and Noah and Nick have all said, even David as well. I think though the way that I would summarize it is that the best, there are good movies, there are great movies, and there's like masterclass movies. And this is kind of between like great and masterclass. It's like, obviously I've seen it recently, there's recency bias, whatever. This is a movie that I like to make the triple chocolate layer cake metaphor, where it works on different levels. Like on the first level, it's just your throwback to the Grindhouse horror, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th. On the second level, they're saying something unique about like sex and about exploitation and so your bodies, and how these horror movies use bodies and blood and gore to draw you into the viewing, the same way that sex and pornography does. And then the third layer is saying something very unique about youth and aging and vitality and lost dreams and ambition, as a young and hopeful actress. And so it's working on like a variety of different levels and firing on all cylinders as it's kind of playing itself out. And I really, really enjoyed kind of seeing that all kind of unfold with, again, this mayhem and murder that occurs through the span of just a single night. So
can
that's, yeah, go ahead.
can I say it, Steven?
Yeah, go for it. What are you saying?
This movie X has the X factor.
It has the X factor.
Has the X factor.
It
Triple
definitely
threat,
does.
baby.
It is a triple threat. XXX. It's yeah, it's an I
Yeah,
really did enjoy this movie, and I thought that it was yeah.
I just want to add, when I looked it up before I saw it, they had comedy
Hmm.
under one of the titles, and it's not overtly comedic, but
Mhm.
it is light. For such a heavy, dark film, it's just light enough that it's enjoyable. Like, I think that's there's an element of lightness that it's very serious, and there's a lot of dark stuff, but it's a story. It's like it's a light story where it's like it I don't know how to, maybe I'm saying light is the wrong word, but
Lighthearted.
it's not even lighthearted. It's pretty heavy. It's just it
Playful.
it's playful. Yeah, playful is the
It's
where I was going.
like there's things that the movie drops here and there, like Brittany Palmer's character, when she comes out of the strip club that she works at, you see in the mural a blonde girl having her clothes pulled back by an alligator. And how does she end up
Brittany
getting killed in the
Palmer?
movie?
You mean Brittany Snow?
Sorry, Brittany Snow. Yeah, who's Brittany Palmer? Brittany Snow, when she comes out of the strip club that she works at, you see a mural in the backdrop with a blonde girl like her and her clothes being pulled by an alligator back into the swamp. And there's also just that laugh out loud comedic scene of like Pearl firing the shotgun, literally being kicked out of the house. Like, the movie is able to kind of employ those moments to its advantage, and it doesn't feel out of place. I think that takes real talent to pull off. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I get it. The
Yeah.
comedic part definitely worked.
It's subtle though too. Like even like the finger chopping when she was trying to unlock the door. It was kind of funny because it's like so unexpected. You're like, what?
Having seen X, are you guys very interested in seeing Pearl, or are you like, I want to leave X in a box because it was so good? Or even in David's case, X wasn't that great in your opinion. Like, are you interested in continuing this? How would you say, the X multiverse, or whatever? Would
The
you?
trilogy.
Yeah, the trilogy. Where do you guys stand in terms of wanting to see this next
What's the third
movie?
one?
Maxine with
Oh,
three X's.
there's a third one.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's gonna
Yes,
be
Oh, I
a.
didn't realize that.
It
But
already
yeah,
exists.
anyways, what
I'll
do
go
you?
first.
Yeah, go first. No.
So I've actually seen Pearl, and for one, I absolutely despise prequels with all my heart. I hate prequels and I will avoid them at all costs. But I will say that Pearl has changed my mind on that. That's all I'll say. But that answers your question, right? I
Yeah,
liked X enough to watch Pearl.
yeah. Nick, what about you? I know that you were on the fence. You're like, I don't want a Pearl to potentially ruin the villains in this movie. Where do you stand in terms of how excited you are to see Pearl? Because you
I'm
are going to watch Pearl.
I'm very excited to watch it. It's just I'm very apprehensive about it. I'm just scared because if I watch Pearl and it doesn't meet the expectations, then I know that X is going to be ruined for me. And I'm very afraid of that happening because it's happened with movies before where you get one thing and then you get a prequel and you're like, oh, this is terrible. And then they're like, well, watch the third movie and that's even worse.
Mm,
So I am very intrigued because I can't let things lie as they are. I need to know. I need to see this backstory. I'm just very afraid, but I'm comfortable in the sense that this movie was well done. So I have enough faith that this prequel can be done well enough as well.
David, what about you?
Um, yeah, it's funny. We've had this conversation a few times before with horror villains about like whether we wanted to know more or know less, and the conversation of would it knowing more ruin them, or because we knew more did it ruin them, or were they so intriguing that we wanted to know more and we were frustrated that we didn't know more. That was a lot of not knowing mores. And
I'm a little confused coming out of that, I'll be honest, but I trust where you're going with this.
and that's where I'm sitting at. I said Stream, and I'll stick by Stream because X was a good movie, but I do think it was missing something for me, and I'm on the similar boat to Noah. I don't necessarily think prequels are all that great. I've never seen like one that's super super great, and I don't know if Pearl. I think Pearl is strong enough on her own with this movie. Like she's an explained character, right? So I'm interested to see why Ty West wants to like what else does he have to say? I'm
Mm.
apprehensive because I don't really think much more needs to be said. But I'm interested to see like after we see this movie and have the conversation a little bit more light to be like, okay, I can see why he wanted to delve into this character and why he couldn't let this go.
So you're skeptical, but you're willing to give it a shot.
I'm skeptical. I'm going to trust what Ty West has made to be like, okay, he wanted to explore this, so I'm willing to explore it with you guys.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, why? I want to know why.
Jonny, why don't you hit us with it? Are you excited to see Pearl, or are you not? Just do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
like Mikey, baby. Just do it. I don't have an issue with prequels. Some of them I do like. I get your point, but it doesn't phase me so much. Um, I do think that it could be a total cluster bomb and just not go anywhere. But like, I think I could separate the two enough where it wouldn't ruin it for me. Um, but he did make something special, so there's always a risk. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I just I didn't know this was a trilogy. This almost felt like it could have just been a standalone movie. So,
Well, that's what everyone expected going into it, right? It's like,
but I wonder if it should be like
yeah,
sometimes like you have something good, just let it be what it was.
maybe
We
there's
will
different.
see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we're gonna review
Like dry
Pearl.
lemon.
Yeah, and that's gonna bring us to the end of this one. So again, 4 of us are recommending that you pay for this film. One of us is recommending that you wait to stream it. Um, we'll let you be the decider of who you choose to listen to. But anyways, this is a review of X. Thank you again for listening to us and your support. We're available on YouTube where we do video reviews, and iTunes and Spotify where we do audio podcasts. And we're also on Instagram, Twitter, and we'll be on TikTok very shortly. So, with that being said, thanks again for listening and your time. I appreciate you guys, and have a good night.
Yo.